Hey guys, Mr. Happy here, and today we are going to discuss the strategy for Titan Extreme. This fight requires an average item level of 67 to attempt, and in order to enter you must have defeated Garuda on the extreme difficulty, as well as finish the quest following her defeat. This quest is everything you hated about Titan Hard Mode, and amped up several notches. In my opinion, this is the hardest of the three fights, despite Ifrit Extreme being the final encounter for patch 2.1. At the end of the video, I will do a walkthrough of the fight so I can discuss exactly how we dealt with each mechanic. We are going to go over this fight phase by phase, covering the order in which Titan performs his attacks so that you may properly prepare yourself for each attack. Phase 1 starts off with the entire arena intact. Titan has a few new tricks up his sleeve for the first phase of the encounter. For starters, he starts with access to Mountain Buster and Weight of the Land, on top of Landslide and Tumult, which in this guide, just for convenience sake, we're going to call Stomps. For Landslide, he will only do a single line that will knock back and deal high damage to anyone it hits. For Weight of the Land, he will spawn these under 5 players other than the main tank. For Stomps, he will do 4 stomps immediately during this phase, although he will only do 4 stomps for the remainder of the fight as well. And for Mountain Buster, it now additionally applies a debuff that increases the damage that the player takes. This will require a tank swap every 2 to 3 stacks. I personally recommend 2. He will do these skills in the following order: Landslide, Weight of Land, Mountain Buster, Stomps, and then repeat until you get him to about 80%. I recommend the entire party other than the main tank grouping just behind Titan and moving as a unit to practice for future phases. Simply move out of the way of Landslide and Weight of the Land while properly tank swapping for Mountain Busters. When he reaches 80%, he will jump into the air and perform Geo Crush, bringing him back onto the battlefield and doing several thousand damage. Phase 2 will have the arena already the size of the Heart phase from Titan Hard Mode, so you're working with a lot less room here. In this phase, he will begin doing 3 new mechanics on top of his Landslide, now dealing its damage in 3 directions. The first is that his Granite Jailers will now be applied to 2 players. If these 2 players are too close to each other when they are trapped, the Jails will gain a massive defense buff that will make it nearly impossible to kill both of them in time. We notice that these Jails always trap 1 healer and 1 DPS. So after the initial Landslide, the healers group up towards the edge of the orange part of the platform while the DPS stack near Titans behind. This ensures that the Jails are always separated with little movement required. Finally, these Jails will cast a spell once they've trapped someone called Granite Sepulchre, which will instantly kill whoever is trapped if they are not freed quickly enough. Whenever someone is jailed, Titan will do 2 abilities back to back before Granite Sepulchre finishes casting. The first one is brand new, Upheaval. Titan will lift one of his legs and after a short period slam it into the ground, dealing moderate damage and knocking back everyone in the arena. This knockback is quite far, but so long as everyone is directly behind Titan, you should land just near the edge of it. It may look like your party members are falling off on your screen, but just trust them. Most of the time, it's just a graphical error. Now, when I say everyone needs to stack up behind Titan, I mean everyone. This includes the not jailed healer, all DPS, and both tanks to ensure no one is knocked off the platform. Remember, this knockback is away from Titan, so the tank taking him on the edge will not be able to survive the knockback. While he's casting Upheaval, break the DPS close to Titan out of his prison, and after the knockback, break out the healer. Try not to break out the healer before Landslide goes off, but be sure he's broken out very quickly after that so he does not die to Granite Sepulchre. Additionally, he has a brand new bomb pattern, and there are some slight changes to his existing ones, but we'll go over each of them as we get to them. The first new bomb pattern you will encounter will cover about 3/4 of the room, leaving a quarter open for everyone. The bomb's burst radius is slightly higher, so standing between bombs is no longer an option. Everyone other than the main tank should run to the safe area and prepare for the coming Landslide. The main tank can reposition to avoid the bombs, but they should be safe to survive a single explosion while Titan casts Landslide. Just play it by ear depending on which 3/4 of the room are covered. So the order of his attacks in this phase are as follows. He'll start with the transition, Geo Crush. He'll then do Landslides, which now go in 3 directions. He'll jail 2 people. Then he'll use Mountain Buster, Upheaval, Landslide, 4 Stomps, Weight of Land, Mountain Buster, Landslide, Weight of Land, Bombs, Mountain Buster, Landslide, Jails, and repeat from there. Now, there is the possibility that there are other bomb patterns that will appear in this phase. Unfortunately, we did not fight him long enough in this phase to see any more. So, if anyone watching this knows that there is another bomb pattern, please leave it in the comments below just to help people who are watching this guide. Thank you very, very much. It's a long pattern to remember, but after quite some practice, I'm sure you won't even need to memorize this. It is entirely possible with enough DPS to get a second set of jails that appear as Titan is jumping to perform Geocrush into the heart phase, meaning he won't have time to do Upheaval and the Landslide. If you do, DPS them before Granite Sepulchre goes off, but avoid standing in the center of the room to take as little damage from Geocrush as possible. Remember to stay stacked so that the jails, Upheaval, Landslide, and Weights of Land are all quick and easy to avoid, as well as be sure to be tank swapping every 2 Mountain Busters. Titan will Geocrush you when you get him down to about 50 to 55%, where he will enter his heart phase. Titan's heart phase is very similar to the previous phase, although now the arena is just barely the size of the center orange part of the arena. Additionally, his landslides now deal their effect in 5 directions, making them take up a large area of the room. Stacking up makes this barely different from the single landslides from hard mode though, so definitely be sure to do that. He will still jail 2 players and do Upheaval, so you really need to squeeze him tight to ensure people aren't knocked off of the arena when he casts Upheaval. He will also use the bomb pattern from his hard mode encounter, which I call the quote-unquote pizza wheel bombs, as you can see on the screen right now. You dodge these the same way you dodge them in Titan hard mode, though with the reduced latency in 2.1, be sure not to move too early. The order of his abilities in the heart phase are as follows: Geocrush, his transition, Weight of Land, Granite Jail, Upheaval, Landslide, Stomps, Weight of Land, Mountain Buster, Bombs, Landslide, Stomps, Weight of Land, and then finally Earthen Fury if you haven't destroyed the heart yet. The entire process takes just under 2 minutes, which is a lot of time as long as people are alive. Just ensure you don't lose anybody to the jails or landslide and all should be fine. Once you destroy Titan's heart, he will jump to the center of the arena and do Earthen Fury, dealing massive damage to the entire raid. This will signal the final phase in the Titan Extreme encounter, which will last for the remainder of his HP. Again, Titan shows up with several new tricks in this phase that must be handled carefully. Most notably are the new adds that Titan spawns, Granite Jailers. These enemies look like giant Titan-Egis, but they're no laughing matter. Each one possesses 2 of Titan's attacks, and though they don't nearly hit as hard, they are definitely still threatening. They each do 1 stomp, so when 2 are alive, it's the equivalent of 2 stomps, each hit for about 600 damage. Additionally, they can use a single directional landslide. Upon death, each jailer will also drop a small AoE circle similar to Titan-Egi's in Kindle called Sludge. Anyone caught in Sludge will take damage over time, as well as greatly slow any affected by it. This can make dodging many of Titan's mechanics extremely difficult, so it's recommended that you kill them off in a designated area to prevent anyone from crossing paths with them. They last a pretty long time, but they will disappear before any more Granite Jailers spawn. Finally, if these jailers are not killed by the next time Titan casts Granite Jail, they will tether with him, and both the jailers and Titan will receive a determination buff until the jailers are killed, greatly increasing all the damage that they deal. These jailers must be off-tanked and killed, though killing them is a matter of timing. Immediately following their arrival will be a new bomb pattern, which we will discuss in more detail after this. If you kill them too soon during the bomb phase, melee in the off-tank may find it difficult to avoid bombs, or even landslide if the other jailer is still alive. It's best to get them low in the bomb phase and kill them as soon as it's over to prevent such a problem. Be sure to watch for tank swaps during this, as you may need to kill the jailers quicker to facilitate the swap due to Mountain Buster. Now with that out of the way, let's discuss the first new bomb pattern, which will come right after the jailers have been summoned. Titan will first summon 4 bombs in each cardinal direction, and 2 seconds later drop 4 bombs in the remaining corners of the room, as well as in the center. In order to properly avoid these bombs, as well as the Landslide Titan will do during them, stand on the bomb in one of the cardinal directions until Titan casts Landslide. You then dodge to an adjacent bomb, wait for the first bomb to explode, then move back to that spot. Keep in mind the burst radius on these bombs is much greater than it was in Titan hard mode, plus the arena is smaller. So you'll basically want to get your character model inside of the bombs to ensure that you avoid all the other ones. The next difference you will see is in the next wave of land after this bomb phase. This is the only wave of land that is different in the entire phase. This time, he will do 2 in a row, meaning he will first target 5 people with one set of wave of lands, and then immediately after target 5 new people with another set. To avoid this, we all group under his behind and move one direction, then move back in the other direction after the first set of weights explode. Simple enough. Next, he will do the triple row bombs from Titan hard mode. Again, the burst radius on these is much bigger, so you really need to make sure that you are far away from each set as they explode. Also, don't try to run into the first set of bombs after the landslide that comes out like you may be used to doing in Titan hard mode. Their timing is slightly different, so you might just be running to your death. The final difference you will see is in the final bomb pattern, which we call the super bombs. There are no safe spots to avoid these bombs, so the only option you have is to kill a single bomb and use the space it gives you to create your own safe spot. Destroying any bomb will work, but I recommend not destroying the center bomb. The reason being that Titan will use Geo Crush before starting this entire phase over again, so you don't want to be directly in the center. Once Titan does Geo Crush, he will repeat the entire phase over again until he is defeated. There may be slight differences in his timing. For example, he does an additional landslide before summoning the Jailers once he comes down from Geo Crush, but this phase is generally the same. So now, for the order of Titan's final phase, here are his abilities: Granite Jailers, Mountain Buster, Bombs, Landslide, Weight of Land, Granite Jail, Mountain Buster, Upheaval, Landslide, Mountain Buster, Stomps, Double Weight of Land, Mountain Buster, Row Bombs, Landslide, Mountain Buster, Super Bombs, Stomps, Weight of Land, Geo Crush, and repeat. Whew, that's a lot. But once you can get through this phase safely, you can rinse and repeat for your second Extreme Primal kill. All that's left is Ifrit. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, favorite, subscribe, and share for more Final Fantasy XIV and Final Fantasy videos in general. Also, be sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter, where you can get regular updates about when I'm releasing videos, as well as ask me any questions that you might have. Also, feel free to follow me on Twitch, where I do stream Final Fantasy XIV, as well as classic Final Fantasies, and I'm going to be streaming some other games next year, in the year of 2014, if it's not 2014 already by the time you're watching this video. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I'm gonna tune over here to the walkthrough. I'm gonna walk through the entire fight as we do it with my own commentary, so hopefully you can get a better idea of the fight in general. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and until next time, take care. Hey guys, so I'm not exactly sure how much talking I'm going to need to do during this, since I did try to go in as much detail as possible, but it is nice to see the fight play out in its entirety, as opposed to just breaking about parts of it. So as you can see, I'm already not following my own advice because I'm not grouping up. In all reality, I group up right here. I just wanted to avoid that first. I want to see if I can, draw that first landslide out. But other than that, we're all loosely grouping for this first phase. I mean, the first phase is really just practice for the later phases. So as long as you're comfortable in the later phases, spreading out in this phase isn't that big of a deal. Just remember, you do have a lot of landslides. You do have 4 stomps coming. You do have landslides coming. And of course, you do have mountain busters all ready to deal with, including the stacking debuff. Now, if you do this phase fast enough, it's possible for your main tank to get the first stack from Mountain Buster and then have it fall off before he gets Mountain Bustered again in the next phase. This requires pretty high DPS though, so if you're cutting it close on the average item level requirement, I wouldn't count on this as part of the strategy. Just plan to do the tank swaps as normal. So as you can see here, he's now doing the 3-directional landslides, but because of the stacking method, it's really not much different than the single landslide. I mean, sometimes a monk or dragoon may have problems because they're on the flank, so they may have to dodge differently than everybody else, but generally, it's the same thing. As long as everyone's grouped up, it doesn't feel that much different. There's just a lot more going on the screen, really. So as you can see, we just had to deal with the double Granite Jails. As you can see, when we get knocked back by Upheaval, we actually have it set up in such a way so that we get knocked back into the next jail. This means that our melee DPS are immediately in range of it and can start DPSing it right away. Of course, this usually means that it gets a landslide on it, which means you can't break it before the landslide actually goes off. So definitely be careful here. I mean, just like a Titan hard mode, you don't want to destroy a jail at the wrong time and get somebody murdered. Now, other than that, there's not really much going on. I mean, as I said with the strategy, we are just grouping up on the rear, and we are dodging these weight of lanes. You'll see occasionally somebody will be out of position, but as long as you keep your attention with the latency changes, which, by the way, are fantastic in this patch, you shouldn't really have too much of a problem dodging them. Now, as you can see, these are the new bombs that cover 3/4 of the room, and this is how we deal with them. Sometimes their timing's a little bit off, and you can't do what we just did where we run towards them as they're exploding. It can cause a lot of problems, but that was a lucky one where the tank doesn't have to deal with it, but just expect the tank to maybe have to eat a bomb during that. As you can see, we got 2 jails during the heart phase transition. So because weight of land comes first, we really needed to break this out quick and get in position for our jail. So these are all over the place, but they're still kind of organized, so it went all right. Now he's going to do the jail. Now because the arena is so small, you really want to shove yourself up in Titan's not so mentionable spot. This ensures that the people DPSing you, as well as you, get knocked back in the direction of the jail behind you, and that you don't get knocked off the side entirely. If the timing's off, as you saw right there, I did get released kind of late, so I didn't get knocked back. Just make sure that you're not always expecting to get knocked back, just in case of timing issues, you know, depending on who your DPS are and who actually got jailed. So as you can see, we just dealt with the quadra stomps again, just 4 stomps throughout the entire fight. I didn't expect them to stay that consistent, but I guess if it had been much more, the fight wouldn't have been that much harder because weight of land follows, and with the way we're doing it, if you do get hit by weight of land, you're dead anyway. As you can see, we managed to kill it before he did any more landslides or stomps or weight of land, so we actually still have a lot of time left over here. This does make it a little bit tricky, though, because you're going to have to run out, make sure nobody gets hit by bombs, then run back in, get a Medica 2 or a Cure 3. Cure 3, by the way, is amazing on this fight. So because he's not going to do jails right away, I move right back here. This is the south cardinal direction where a bomb is going to spawn. So because I know a bomb is going to spawn here, I'm just getting ready for the next bomb phase by being here. So I keep attacking Titan for a little bit. That's just because I want to make sure the tank has aggro on the Granite Jailers. Realistically, you'll probably want to switch a little bit quicker than that, but I didn't feel comfortable since I saw them kind of moving back and forth between the healer and the tank. I just wanted to be sure that he had time to get steady enmity on them. So as you can see, that's how we dodge the bomb. We moved from the south cardinal direction one to the southeast or southwest, depending on if you're melee or ranged, because obviously the melee aren't going to be standing in the back with the ranged, so they're basically just going to follow the tank. And then we kill these Granite Jailers at the last second right here, just as the jails are coming out. So this is the first set of jails, and generally, it's not much different at this point in the fight. We did get kind of risky right there. We had the warrior get a 3rd stack of the Mountain Buster debuff, and he almost died. So when I say that 3 stacks is a possibility, it's definitely a last resort based on timing with the Granite Jailers and things like that. Realistically, those Granite Jailers should have been dead a little bit earlier. Probably my fault because I was attacking Titan, but as I said, I just wanted to make sure the tank had steady enmity on them. Now, after that, we're going through the fight regularly, you know, Mountain Buster, stomps, and now we're coming to the double weight of land. So what we do is we have the sludges on the right, and we move from the middle to the left. Now, of course, this isn't the only way to do this. It depends on your positioning. This is just what we found to be easiest in terms of this fight. Now, immediately after that, you know that there's going to be the row bombs. You know, there's a Mountain Buster, but then there's these row bombs. Now, watch very closely how we dodge these row bombs, because as you can see, move just barely here, but as soon as it goes off, you move left again and then back to the middle. Reason being, bomb radiuses are huge in this one. As you can see, the Dragoon, he was pretty far from those bombs, but he still took the hit. He was just a few pixels closer to it than everybody else. Now, very, very closely after that, you will have to deal with the super bombs. Now, I really like the name super bombs here because you see that and it's just immediately like, oh man, like the first time you see this, you're like, oh, I kill one. Like, that's basically how it reacts. Now, this is a DPS check, because if you get hit by the bombs and you get hit by Geocrush, you are going to die. I don't see any way to survive that unless your heals are so miraculously timed to deal with the burst damage coming out of these. So we popped cooldowns, we killed the one, they exploded, and we got geo-crushed. So at this point, the whole fight's pretty much over. We just have to do the this phase again until we get to a safe enough point where we can use our limit break. So make sure definitely to be careful about using your healing and tank limit breaks, you know, especially with a lot of the movement that goes around in this phase. It's an extremely mobile fight. So, you know, bards, monks, dragoons are really good here. Summoners are excellent here, especially for killing the jailers. And also, you know, not that black mages aren't that good in this fight, but they do have troubles because of all the moving. So definitely make use of your tools, especially ethereal manipulation, to squeeze out the most DPS as a black mage here. So as you can see, we are killing the jailers at a significantly greater speed. We try to wait until after they do landslide to ensure they die. But as long as they die in that general pattern, it's okay. As you can see, we did not group up quick enough. One person ate one, but it wasn't too bad, so we were able to do this all right. Now, at this point, we're getting ready for the last few things we're going to have to dodge. So we're just doing one last jail here. Going to do this upheaval, the landslide. Then we should just, I believe it's just stomps, and then we do the double puddles, and then we tier 3 limit break them. So if you're very overgeared for the fight, this phase doesn't last much longer than a single end phase. But if your DPS is rather low, expect to do 2, maybe 2.5, especially if you're doing it closer to the item level 67 requirement. For example, doing it in full dark light, extremely possible. Definitely going to take a little bit more effort, and you're going to have to deal with certain phases a little bit longer. But it is totally doable, and besides, you'll at least have an item level 80 weapon, either the Titan weapon or the relic, depending on what job you're doing this as. So definitely don't give up. It's definitely a tough fight, but just like Titan hard mode, it's very scripted. So just keep at it, and you should be okay. Finish them with the tier 3 limit break, and then we go on to get Tremor Earrings of Striking. Everybody asks about loot, so I'm definitely just going to include those from now on when I do video guides like this. Anyway, guys, like I said, thanks for watching. I'm going to get working on that Ifrit Extreme guide, so you guys can check that out and definitely work on getting your extreme primal weapons. Definitely get ready for those until you get your elegant weapons. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Definitely check out Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, all in the description below. I will see you guys there. Until next time, take care.